Holy Dawn Yang Swan Song, Batman. Tiki here, and I'm watching through Batman the Animated Series for the first time. And we've come to the last episode in the original style, but alas, it's not just an episode. It's a movie. It's a whole movie. Dragon, how did this come about? I need to know.
Well, you see, folks, long ago, I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way.
Tonight we're talking about, to give it its full name, Batman and Mr. Freeze, semicolon, Subzero. Alright. Dragon, I'm just gonna make a bold statement here, buddy. I know that Phantasm is probably technically the better film. This, to me, this, man, I love this, Dragon. I love this to death. This has to me, I almost prefer this to Phantasm. I know that's like probably heresy in your mind, I
Yeah.
know. But but there's just something about this, the way that it kind of like concludes Mr. Freeze's trilogy of storylines within this episode. The ending, Dragon, you know how I feel about a good ending, and this ending is just like, oh my god, like it is like the Batman the Animated Series ending to end all Batman the Animated Series endings, Dragon. It's like, oh man. I don't know. This one, I will give it this. It feels way more like self-contained than Phantasm did. Phantasm, obviously, it's theatrical. It's the blue meth of Batman. I'm not going to argue that. It's got a way bigger scope to it. If I had one criticism for this movie, it's that we spend way too much time in a single location. It almost kind of feels like a bottle episode to a certain extent. But you know what, Dragon? You know me. I like a good bottle episode. I like a good kind of like focused story, and that's what this is. This is a very intense kind of like psychological story more than anything else. And of course, with Mr. Freeze, he is like probably the most deep and philosophical of the Batman villains. And so, man, I just think like to conclude everything, like I said, Dragon, I'm a sucker for a good ending. I mean, you know this, so I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. That ending really kind of like put the punctuation at the end of the Mr. Free storyline and the end of this run of Batman. And I'm just, Dragon, I'm honestly Vera Farmiga levels of so sad when it comes to leaving this style of animation behind. I really am, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, bear in mind, it's not going to get like terrible or anything. It's just not going to be the same.
I
Going
fear
forward.
change, Dragon. I fear change.
We all do. We
I'm a
all do.
Disneyland fan. It's in our blood.
So, my nostalgia for this one. So this was at the period for me when I had this. This is during the period when accessing Batman the Animated Series was limited to 3 VHS tapes.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah, I had the first volume with like basically it's like the first DVD, but on VHS tape of like the first 7 or 8 episodes. I think up to POV. I think I had Phantasm, of course, very lovingly, and Subzero. That was the trifecta. That's all I had of like Batman before we'd have the advent of the DVD of the
Mm.
seasons coming out like that. Anyway, so basically, Phantasm and Sub-Zero, they were a built-in double feature on the regular, man. They
Oh,
were
I
they
bet,
were
yeah.
lovingly built in, of course, very different. Of course, Phantasm very much the Citizen Kane of Batman. Sub-Zero, it's a Batman and Robin adventure with, of course, it was the the better version of kind of a Batman and Robin for the times, which was the next kind of set of tapes that would enter with with kind of the with the Schumacher films. So yeah, this was always to me as a kid. It was always like the far superior version of like Batman and Robin. Of course, Mister Freeze being the connecting point mainly with those two. So absolutely. Thieves to see kind of one of the statements. This is the Mister Freeze send off before we kind of got an epilogue or two with him as the new adventures and Batman Beyond would come along. So this is like the proper like ending in the middle. This is like the ending with big letters before we just kind of like say before we check in with him, like what happens when we check in with him like 50 years later? What happens when we check in with him Yeah, the New Adventures, that's going to be the Band-Aid, the rip-off, what they do with Mr. Freeze, where it's not bad, but I mean,
Ooh.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
after this, I'm kind of afraid of any further things with him. Batman Begins, I'm totally chill seeing him again in Or I'm sorry, not Batman
Yeah.
Begins. Batman
Kind of the
Beyond.
opposite. Yeah.
I know, right? Batman Beyond, I'm definitely chill with seeing him in Batman Beyond. That's an entirely different story.
Yeah,
I'm
they
chill
do
with seeing him like years down the
that's
line.
the better epilogue. That's the better, like,
Mm.
if you're going to do like another kind of, again, epilogue for Mr. Freeze, that's the place to do it, you know. But we'll see how you feel about when we kind of revisit him in New Adventures. Regardless, but
Mm.
yeah, this was absolutely a wonderful end to his arc. And folks, bring out the inside out tissues when we get to that ending. I assure you.
Troy, and I'm bringing out the inside out tissues when we get to the animation studio, buddy.
Okay, so let me get into, speaking of which, let me get into the background. Let me give you some context. It's the stuff that we can't exactly work in the movie because you're going to be so caught up in all the wonder and Dong Yang splendor. So let me kind of like let me polish the pedestal here. So, um, director on this, Boyd Kirkland, who again, as I've said many times, have very appropriately given the ending of things now, and unfortunately no longer with us. So this was honestly, this is like the last time he worked on Batman, which is kind of, you know, very prolific. This is kind of, you know, big for him. So he directed, just to give you the Hall of Famer kind of bona fide. He did Perchance the Dream. He did I Am the Night, and he did
Oh
his
man.
Silicon Soul, like three of my all-time favorite
Oh yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
All
All
this
three of
back.
those are just fantastic. Yeah.
Just to name a few. Writer on this, so it was Kirkland wrote it, but he co-wrote it with the wonderful Randy Rogel. He's known for a litany of things. Just to give you the appropriate things for this, he did Robin's Reckoning, the big Robin episode from the animated series, the two-parter. He did the Two-Face episode, big on the two-parters. Therefore, like, yeah, let's get him for the longer episode with this movie. And again, other episodes, but he would also go on to do other projects and movies for series like Wacko's Wish. That's Randy
Oh
Rogel.
wow. Oh man, Wacko's Wish, dude.
I mean, you got to remember, Teague. I think I mentioned it before with Rogel. Rogel's
Dragon,
big thing.
I just want to throw it out there. If there's a year to do Wacko's Wish, it's this year.
That's a good point. But yeah, the other thing too with Randy Rogel, kind of the kids forget about, is that Randy Rogel essentially wrote all the songs in Animaniacs, like the whole like the 50 states and the capitals. That's him. That's, you know, it's Mr. Rogel. All right.
Uh-huh.
So the studio, as you probably have guessed, this was Dong Yang, their last
Oh,
ride.
Dragon,
Worked,
just let's just say it one more time for the record, okay? When Don Yang's or when Spectrum's away,
Dong Yang will play.
man, but Dragon, that
Last
feels
time
like
we're
an
going to
end
be
of
able
an
to say
era.
that.
Feels like an end of an era, Dragon.
So just to show you the transitional phase here, so there were two animation studios that worked, because usually even with Phantasm, it was Dong Yang worked on Phantasm along with Spectrum. That was like the all-star lineup. Oh my God.
Right, right.
You had them both shoulder to shoulder. I mean, Spectrum did the setups and did the kind of the fancy stuff, and Dong Yang was predominantly the look. So
Uh-huh.
Dong Yang did the animation. This is the last ride, but also they kind of ushered in the next generation. They also did really good flourishes. Coco. So Coco comes in. Spelled with the K, not the other Coco. So,
I know. I was kind of my brain kind of like instantly went to the other Coco for a minute. I
so
was like, wait,
here's
what?
what you need. Here's what you need to know about Coco. So they were owned by TMS, who basically are going to do all the heavy lifting going to New Adventures. TMS do phenomenal work. They did a lot of Animaniac stuff. They did Demon's Quest. You know, you've seen glimpses of TMS, all the Clayface morphing effects. That's TMS.
Oh, okay. Nice,
So
nice.
this is their baby. So they kind of own Coco, and Coco had worked with Dong Yang. So again, they're kind of mentored by Dong Yang in a sense.
Ton Yang's kind of passing the torch.
So when we get to New Adventures, it's predominantly TMS and a bit of Coco. So that's kind of they're the studio. So again, we're not in terrible shape going forward. Just to say that we're in good hands, but not
I
Dong Yang.
understand we're not in terrible shape, and I'm not trying to push on the animation studios. My problem is the style.
I know you're right. You're right.
Like you can have the best animators in the world, you can have the most fluid animation, but if the style, there's something about the style, man.
Okay, so
Anyways,
this is gonna make you cry with how beautiful this is with the style. Okay, so in the background here, so Batman the Animated Series ends in 1995 with their 85 episode contract fulfilled. You know, 65 episodes, and they got picked up for the Adventures of Batman and Robin. Essentially, that's essentially season 3.
oh,
So basically, so that wrapped up in '95, and you'll notice this movie came out in '98. Here's how that happened. So they move on to Superman the Animated Series, and while they're doing Superman, as we kind of already covered with World's Finest, they kind of, hey, let's do more Batman. Let's introduce Batman and Superman, and we have to redesign to fit the style. Hence the changeover in style. To make things easier, and hey, the network's like, yeah, do more Batman. We love this. So, but let's develop this. So they're developing that. They're developing the new, the new Batman adventures as they kind of get the light bulb to put them in Superman, the crossover appeal, like a back to back
Sure.
an hour of Batman and Superman. What one does. So this is around '97. All of a sudden,
Dragon, that was kind of like the first example. Like, the animation has such a history, such a long history of you see live action. This is the way you should do it.
Again, the runner of DC is doing it right in animation for the most part, given the blueprint, and of course the blueprint's not coming up to code sometimes.
We'll see with James Gunn's Suicide Squad. That might be the
I'm
one.
very hopeful. I am very hopeful with that.
And to be fair, Shazam kicked ass.
It did. And that was very per the source material as well. That was really good. All right, so '97 as New Adventures, it's kind of getting started. So New Adventures has come out in a little bit '97, maybe a month or so. The point being, it's coming out around the time of World's Finest as well. And Warner Brothers, they wanted they wanted a tie-in to Batman and Robin, which was also coming out in 1997. So here's what happened. This is very interesting. So the original pitch by the guys working on a tie-in movie for Batman and Robin was a Bane movie.
Oh, man.
So originally, this was supposed to be a continuation of Bane. Bane was supposed to get revenge on Batman. He was going to be like an unstoppable Terminator force, just keep on coming for Batman. He would not Nightfall per se, but he would just keep coming at Batman just throughout the acts. He would just get more and more ticked off at Batman, just keep coming at him. So that was the original pitch for the story, and the whole Robin of it all is pretty much the same, only a little bit more extensive. So then, when Batman and Robin's getting made, they announce, "Hey, we got Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze." So Warner Brothers gets an idea, "Hey, let's capitalize."
Also in the movie, but let's not focus on that. Let's not focus on that.
You can see with the star power of that, the animated series is big. We got Schwarzenegger. Let's capitalize on the star power, and essentially they just wanted, hey, let's swap out Bane with Mr. Freeze, which of course required a draft to make that work. So okay, let's just change things up and make that work and keep some of the good stuff we have here. And so at this time, think about it, Tiki. So this is around '97. So the animated series and the way it has been done, after Deep Freeze and Batgirl Returns, that was the ending. They didn't expect to do any more in the old style. That was they shuttered the whole place up. So the studio was divided. So you have the guys the Superman crew, which is Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, and the whole gang, kind of the big names, so all of our go-to guys. They're working on the new adventures and everything. They're working on the retooling of Batman. So we bring about some of our guys like Boyd Kirkland and Randy Rogel, and we kind of put this other half on the movie here, which again brings back the old style, which. The idea, I believe, was that, hey, by the time this comes out, it'll come out, then we'll transition to the new style, being the idea. Sense. But what happened was Subzero turned out so well, they didn't want to release it as a lead-in or a tie-in, coming out at the same time as Batman and Robin, because the studio saw oh man, this is it's gonna be better than the movie we have coming out. We can't have that. So what they did is they pushed it back, which of course confused everything. If you really want to look World's Finest comes out, then New Adventures, then the old Batman series style with movie.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The point being, they push it back a year in '98 instead of '97, which kind of throws everything off just because they wanted to save face with Batman and Robin. They even talked about doing a theatrical release because they were so pleased with it, which is very impressive because this worked with the direct-to-video budget. It's all direct-to-video, but still they had a little PTSD with how Phantasm performed, which unfortunately was the case, which means didn't get a theatrical release. But ironically, Siskel and Ebert went out of their way after Phantasm to...
I kind of remember this. Yeah, I remember this.
Because they dropped the ball with Phantasm back then, they went out of their way to check out the direct-to-video, which they so rarely ever did, and they loved this, man. Especially compared to the Batman and Robin that had come out the year before.
Right.
So they were gobsmacked by this. Now, before we go into it, one last really important bit here. You're going to be interested by it. I'm just going to jump right into it. Bruce Timm, again, he was not involved in this. Again, Bruce Tim Paul Dean, traditionally involved on the other Mr. Freeze episodes, Deep Freeze and Heart of Ice. Bruce Tim, he didn't approve of this story. He did not like he didn't like the wonderful ending of this movie. Technically, honestly, he didn't like the whole. It wasn't what he would have done with Mr. Freeze, apparently, but again, didn't have much of a say because he's working on the other stuff. I know it's crazy, right? But
that's absolutely insane. That's just an objectively wrong opinion.
I'm gonna touch on that when we get to the very end. Once when we're kind of doing a wrap up, all right. But in the meantime, let's dive right into this puppy again, folks. This is a commentary, so you can watch along with us. If you got something, say like an HBO Max or whatnot, or you bought the DVD, or somehow you rented it. I don't know how. You got the movie. You can watch with us. But again, we're gonna keep it conversation. Don't necessarily need to, because we're gonna kind of approach things chronologically, linearly, if you will.
Yeah.
Get to the 0 mark if you want to watch along with us, and we're going to give you the lethal weapon of all. We're going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and when Tiki says that word, go, you hit the button, and we're off to the races.
All right, so let's do it, folks. Batman and Mr. Freeze, Subzero in 1, 2, 3, go. Classic Bugs Bunny logo.
Yep, I tell you, this brings me back to stuff like Phantasm. Like, this is how you open a Batman movie, kids. This is how you do it. So this is, Tiki, right off the bat, this is really big. This is the first time in the animated series we've ever used the actual Danny Elfman theme from '89 to open one of these. Which is huge, and we get to see the right logo for a change in front of a Batman movie.
It's also very similar to the way that the live action movies would open. You know what I mean? Like where we have like this reveal of the logo.
I'm sure this is like a studio note, but it was a studio note done right in this case. I mean, look at how awesome this is, and this again kicks the crap out of the Batman Robin Frozen logo.
One thing I want to note really quick on my nostalgia for this Dragon, I love the CG fish actually look good, don't you think?
Yeah, Kevin Conroy loves this opening, by the way, especially with the polar bears running over the ice. Everyone always lauds it, but so does Kevin Conroy. It's kind of interesting.
It looks fantastic.
So again, like the opening of Mask of the Phantasm, we're incorporating some computer animation, only in this case into the feature as it goes on. We have more of the computer animated elements in it throughout the movie.
Okay, so I'm sorry. One thing I wanted to say about the nostalgia for this really quick, Dragon. I don't think I ever watched this in full when I was a kid, but I remember it airing pretty regularly on Cartoon Network's. I think it was called the Cartoon Theater. We've talked about this before. The place where they play like anime. Like I think you and I both were introduced to Cats Don't Dance that way.
Yeah. So this is Coco animation, I believe, with the whole polar bear and the CG of it. I believe the CG stuff was Coco, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Just fucking epic reveal of Mr. Freeze, I think.
So yeah, and figuring out the story for this they just kind of figured, okay, let's use the logical aftermath of Deep Freeze. He escaped the iceberg with Nor, which sailed out to God knows where, and they set up in the Arctic for the seclusion, but also Mr. Freeze, as we kind of see in this awesome opening, he's unencumbered by the suit. He can just walk around the skivvies, in this below freezing sub-zero temperature, which is a really cool idea.
So I love that this random military submarine just fucks everything up right at the beginning.
I know, and I love how no one's really the bad guy here, but you feel horrible for Mr. Freeze, and I think again that's why he's compelling, because you feel terrible for him. But again, this case is not like Ferris Bueller kicking him in the chemicals. It's
it's not like the military's searching for Mr. Freeze.
No, they're just
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just on an expedition with some scientists. That's all they're doing right now. I love the effects coming up here. One, I love the juxtaposition between the colds of once we get into the caverns and just right now into the water, the blues, and then the reds of the submarine.
Yeah.
And also, I love the ice effects when Freeze and the polar bears get out. As you'll see, they have these really cool, subtle, awesome ice effects where he's getting the layers of frost on him, and they have the cold air coming off the polar bears. It's awesome. Great juxtaposition, great edit. This movie has phenomenal editing. We have these great lines that lead into each other, and it's no one can survive in this cold. Cut to.
That right there, the ice breaking off of
Yeah,
him.
that's
Mhm.
exactly what I'm talking about. That and the whole like the stuff coming off the polar bears. Yeah.
And then it's weird to see him not blue for a change.
I know, but look at this again. We're complimenting him so much. All this lighting, like like it's not just like the Arctic and like it's all just snow and white. Like no, there's lighting and stuff here, man.
Yeah. All right. So, what's the genesis for this kid character, Dragon?
Yeah, so Kunak, I thought Kunak was a great way of showing. He's an original for the movie. I think he's a great way of showing how hopeful Mister Freeze is right now. Everything's going great for Freeze right now. He's so in touch with his humanity. Because he's since he found Nora and he has like a chance at saving her. You kind of working out here in the Arctic all alone. And he kind of found this Eskimo kid who, as we kind of like established later on, his parents were killed or like they died. And Miss Freeze kind of found him along his journeys while he's kind of out there in the Arctic, came across the kid and took him in. And what I love about this, and it always touched me so much, is that this is the closest thing Mr. Freeze is going to have to a family with Nora in a sense. Like he kind of came
Yeah,
across,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Like right now, this is like Freeze with kind of a little unconventional family. He's got like polar bears. He's got his pet polar bears. He's got his wife who he's working very hopefully to cure. And of course, it's not a true blue Mister Freeze project without him having these beautiful, Shakespearean soliloquies to his wife.
Absolutely.
And right now, it's like like the 15th anniversary of meeting his wife and just reestablishing the mission for the movie in case the kids haven't seen the episodes.
Fragile beauty clinging to life in this frozen wasteland.
The flower thing was great, and I love the symbolism later on when we have that great painting. Just when we rack focus. By the way, we can rack focus in this movie, which is awesome.
All right.
So here's where the tragedy strikes, kid. And just already grab we're establishing right now just for the kids. And the Kunak, again, Kunak also is kind of a touchstone for the kids in the audience, I'm sure, a little bit there. So it's like he's asking, hey, why is she in the tank? Well, she has to stay in there until we find a
Well,
cure. So
he's definitely there also just like, to give Mr. Freeze someone to talk to.
yeah, sure, that as well. And this moment always gobsmacked me as a kid. It was like a big. It still gets me a gasp from me when her kind of her unit gets knocked over here.
The green gas that
Oh,
oozes out of it is just horrifying.
I know. It's like because how fragile. The biggest symbol of Mister Freeze has always been the ballerina in the little
Hmm.
snow globe, and of course, making that Nora was a great escalation or exploration of that idea. And oh god, just it's such an unfortunate tragedy. Again, it's an unfortunate tragedy. It's not really like crime that does this to him. It's just like you feel so bad for him.
All
Yeah.
right.
The ruptured stasis tank, man. I tell you, it's just it's so sad.
But it definitely gives the plot a sense of urgency for sure. Like it's a great way, just like literally like 5 minutes into the movie to just really kick off like okay, like something desperately needs to be done, and he'll go to any lengths to do it.
And I love that here's the thing. Mr. Freeze has always had built-in sympathy, and I love how it's sympathy, but also in a different way. We've kind of turned the sympathy to you feel bad for him, but in this case, he doesn't have to kill all these guys, but he is. But here's the thing: you don't support him going after these guys like you would him going after Ferris Boyle. But you understand where he's coming from. You understand he's
I
angry. He's
totally understand. Yeah.
well, it's a very John Carpenter-esque sequence here with like the thing and everything, just like the horror of this scene too, as they discover like
I love when Batman villains get turned into horror movie monsters, and this is definitely an example of that.
I know, and I love how we build him up like not seeing him in the suit, but he's suited up again.
Right.
And again, our transitions, we've gone from the Arctic cold to 2 weeks later in a giant heat wave in Gotham.
That's a great transition. Yeah.
So, fun story about this opening introduction to our hero, Batman. So, Randy Rogel, many writers, as they come to Batman, like especially the ones who are kind of recruited, they have spec scripts, like what it would be like if like they wrote an episode of Batman, like a
Uh-huh.
pitch that they know is not going to happen, but a pitch. And Randy Rogel he recycled his pitch for his episode. The episode he pitched was the Ape Man. Really silly, just the Ape Man, and essentially, this is the opening from the Ape Man, where basically Batman, Robin, maybe just Batman in that case, kind of like stop, kind of a like kind of like guys throwing a bottle through the window and everything happens.
Uh-huh.
It's a
I
great
like this
sequence.
because it's showing that Batman is, very much. It's not just the super villains that Batman interacts with. It's like the very low tier criminals as well.
I love that we reestablish Mr. Freeze's motivation, but also Batman's motivation here. We sum up the mission of Batman so perfectly. Have like a random crime. We see that Batman has he's made an impact. Gotham is sticking up for itself. The shopkeep, Murray here, he sticks up for himself. They're not as afraid of the criminals as they once were. And of course,
Hello, Murray.
yeah,
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
yeah. But I love
Murray.
But I love Batman. He's going after these punks who beat up old folks. Man, that's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
Batman
yeah.
right
That's
there.
the
It's
way
like,
we introduce Batman.
yeah. Oh my God, this is where Dong Yang earns its brownie points, my friend. Look at this. I mean, Batman jumped. I love how he uses the cape to steer him into a fire hydrant. Oh, this is just phenomenal. I mean, this is what I'm
Okay,
talking. This is stuff from the
coming up right here when with the jump scare with the cave dragon. That is just
yeah.
so badass.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So Dong Yang again in their last ride here.
Right
They're
here,
they're
right
they're
here.
riding.
Let's soak it in. Let's soak it in.
They're riding into the sunset, boyo.
So he's like, hey, why is the sky all dark? What's going on here? He
Yep.
opens the window
Mhm.
and
I love how he pokes it though. Like what the?
that's such a great like it's almost a Batman jump scare, you
And
know.
look at the terror. Like usually pulls him out from the window. This guy's terrified. Again, they're striking fear into the hearts of the superstitious and cowardly. It's the mission statement, and Robin gets stuff to do. Seriously, I think this is one of all the Batman and Robin kind of forced episodes and name from the third season. Honestly, this I think because we have Rogel in this, the man who did Robin's Reckoning, the most famous Robin episode in the animated series. I think Robin, I think he's some of the best representation of him in the animated series in this movie.
I would definitely agree. I think that this is so far probably my favorite representation of Robin. Just because I love how he's woven into the heart of the narrative with Barbara. I think
Yeah.
like he's almost the main protagonist because of that.
Whereas Batman's like, listen, scum, I'll be watching. Right. Also, my favorite bits because you know how much of a gadget guy I am, and I've always loved the grappling gun. This is one of those bits that kind of it helped inform my love of the grappling gun. When Robin he grapples the guy and then he pushes the reel in button where he basically reels him in. It's already happened, but it was awesome.
So I love how Alfred's already got the suits prepared in the back of the limo. Like
Oh
they're
yeah,
full of contingencies.
I always love Alfred in the driving outfit too. It's always kind of nice and safe.
Yes, yes, yes.
Something this and Phantasm have in common. We put Alfred in the duds, and he looks good. He looks great. This is a small thing, but I love how swanky our locations are in this movie. We have like the swanky fundraiser, and then later on we
It's
have like
almost
the swanky
Gatsby-esque
nightclub.
Dragon.
Yeah, which of course Bruce Wayne's appropriate.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Frankly, so neither do I. Good old Alfred. So you'll notice, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this in the eye design for Bruce and Dick, and pretty much everybody. They kind of went with the. I kind of call it the Kurt Swan. See, Kurt Swan Superman had like the line with like without the whites of the eyes. So we kind of do that for the
Yeah,
majority of our
yeah.
characters. Again, something they toyed with now and again in the animated series. And I think they just brought it back. Like, you know what? I mean, we're kind of dipping back into the animated series. So let's toy with some stuff we don't see that much of in the animated series. Just kind of make it pop a little bit more. Which it's a fair choice. It looks good enough.
Right, and here's your boy, Dragon. Your boy.
Oh yes, good old Commissioner Gordon. And I love this. I love that Gordon. We keep this runner throughout the whole series. Gordon is very uncomfortable at these social functions. So who does he go to? His pal Bruce Wayne, who's also his pal Batman, which is quite nice.
Okay, can I just say that the editing on this scene in particular is very Sorkin-esque?
It is, but you know what's even better about this?
Hmm.
It's a pull from the Poison Ivy episode of Batman, where Harvey Dent's talking about his buddy Bruce Wayne, and we see Batman doing the same thing here. So we kind of recycle it in an awesome way with Batgirl.
That's true. That's true.
The thing that always bothered me as a kid is that this is the only time she's in the suit. I mean, years later, I can appreciate much more. Oh yeah, well obviously she wouldn't be in the suit later on because it wouldn't make any sense.
Right. I do like that this is it's a pretty good sort of transition where, from what I know of season 4, it's going to be more Batgirl focused. So the
Yeah.
fact that she is the big, a big plot point in this movie is appropriate.
This is a weird detail. You're gonna love this. So Veronica Vreeland, who we've met before, she's got blonde hair right now.
Oh, I know that threw me off.
Yeah, they. I'm pretty sure they did that for the kids, so they'd be able to. I don't know if it was a studio note or what, just to make sure there weren't two redheads in the movie with her and Batgirl. I don't know, just they wanted just wanted to do it, just make sure you can tell the difference.
Okay, so let's talk about some really economic storytelling here with this guy.
Yes, Dr. Gregory Belson, voiced by the ventriloquist from the animated series. It's George Zunza.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, really. Also, he's Perry White on Superman. That's also how they got him, and they use him a lot when they can. He's really good.
So very simple with this guy. He's in over his head. He needs money, and he needs money fast. He needs a lot of money, and he's desperate for it.
Yep. Again, I like that we have we talk about stock and everything in a kids movie. Yet again, it's pretty simple. We dumb it down really well here. Where we know the simple. The guys basically it's like going to a casino roughly, but with stock.
Yeah,
stock.
right.
He's in debt, like a gambling debt. Look at how gorgeous she looks in this dress, man.
It is a knockout. It really is.
I'm saying Dong Yang. My God, man, it's the word of the day, folks. It's all right. Oh, by the way, they recast. I should mention this. They recast her for this movie. She is. So this is not Melissa Gilbert. This is Daphne from Scooby-Doo. This is Mary Kay Bergman.
Oh, okay, got it. So
another famous redhead.
Right. So this Gordon stuff is just fucking adorable.
I love fatherly Jim Gordon so much, and I love that he's given Dick Grayson the business, but he likes him though. He approves of Dick Grayson very much. Very, very cute seeing Gordon all father. I like the whole Whoopi thing from when we introduced her. It's adorable. So yeah. By the way, all the Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon kind of love story stuff. That's remained from the Bane draft. They kept all that stuff. They had to trim it a little bit, but that's pretty much the whole subplot they kept from the original draft.
Okay. Did Bane kidnap her?
I mean, I forget if Bane was supposed to go into the Batcave or not, which obviously is a bell you don't unring, so I'm not sure about that. But she went into the Batcave though. She found out that in the original draft, she would find out in that movie that Batman and Robin were Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne. There was going to be a whole thing, but they didn't go that way, and they kind of addressed in the end New Adventures.
Okay, we just kind of glazed over that awesome reveal of the snow in the middle of the road.
And of course, in the middle of like a 90-degree heat wave,
right.
Which we had playing over the radio all the time. Just look at him.
They're still not fully revealing his face in the suit yet. I love that.
Yep, we keep
it's like we know what he looks like. We've seen him before, but they're still milking it, Dragon. They're still milking the moment.
I always love this line that Freeze has. He was going to Belson because he knew him back in his cryogenic days. Like they were colleagues together. They were doctors together. And I love the fact that Mr. Freeze said he tried to make an appointment through the secretary. He tried to go through the proper channels. She wouldn't fit him until September. Just So yeah, I mean the progression here, Dick and Barbara, they're getting quite serious, which is quite nice.
The last
and of course,
we saw Dick and Barbara was a couple episodes ago, and they were kind of just like it almost seemed like they were more pals than anything else, So
yeah, it was the last episode. Literally, it was Batgirl Returns.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course the irony, and they're going to address this in that original Bane draft, but again, we hint at it here, the idea that Dick and Barbara really like each other. These two crazy kids, you're rooting for them, but again, Robin and Batgirl, they didn't quite get along. They always gave each other the business, but this is seriously, I like the chemistry between these two crazy kids here. I mean,
that is really one element of season 4 that I'm excited to get to is her finding out about the identities and everything and how that plays out.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one too. You're gonna love that one. Again, I like the tender moments here. By the way, we're using licensed music in this movie. Like "I Only Have Eyes for You," which is a great song choice. Again, it's like the first time it's ever been done in the animated series. Okay, I love this. I love Bruce Wayne doing some detective work with Alfred here as they kind of drive into basically the puddle from the ice from earlier, which is great. Makes perfect sense, a logical logic. Okay. And we have this great setup for our photographic memory later, where Bruce is kind of examining the thing, and he's finding like Belson's registration. You're like, what the heck happened to this guy? He wants someone might have been kidnapped or something. I gotta know this is Batman.
Bruce will remember this.
Yes, he will. I always love this cold room because one, the color contrast for all the scenes, but I mean, it looks so great.
Yeah. Like you said, just the animation on the breath, that's really impressive.
I love how we can have Nora outside the container, but kind of bedridden, which again this cold room allows for. So he doesn't even need that suit, probably. Well, it's probably if Belson's surviving, it's probably not Subzero, but it's probably cold enough, so maybe he doesn't need the suit. But I love this though. Again, Victor's in a bind, and Belson here is kind of a cryogenesis as well as kind of a surgeon. So this is exactly the kind of guy he needs. And this bit here is a great bit of humanity here. Gregory, I see you haven't changed. Like Victor Freeze, dead to all emotions, but you know what? He can sense like the the irony and the wit here. Like, Gregory, you're still money hungry as all, which of course is going to be his undoing later on with all the gold and everything.
I mean, I do like his role as kind of like a secondary antagonist who is, like, I think by all intents and purposes, more evil than Mr. Freeze.
He is. I mean, he's very greedy. Where again, Freeze is doing all this, and again, Freeze. This is what I'm talking about with the whole thing where he iced those guys earlier in the submarine, where Freeze is in the wrong, and it's a little harder to root for him. But I mean, you feel for him. Where again, Victor right now he's willing to trade one life for his wife's, which again, like obviously Nora would disapprove of, but he's very desperate. Desperation has really pushed Victor over the line. I think that's the point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And desperation has driven Gregory over the line very easily. He doesn't feel guilty about it at all. A whole vein of gold, I'll take it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that Gregory is like he's an example of like a corrupt doctor who's just totally going against the code.
And in a sense, he's kind of a cautionary tale for what Freeze could become and like crossing these lines, maybe, if I'm connecting some stuff there. So, admittedly, this is a buy. It's a buy, but it's a miracle.
It's a buy, yeah.
It's like, okay, of all, like, not counting Nora.
You don't care kind of buy, at least.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'll look past it like it's dramatic storytelling. We need him to go after Barbara Gordon, so it's like basically the idea being Nora not counting. It's 17 names.
I gotta tell you, this bit bothers me more than that does because
really
it's like,
this.
Don't tell him where she is. You don't know.
Well, it's a college roommate. Of course they're going to sell you out.
Fair enough.
Oh, by the way, the song playing, Am I Blue, is kind of a jazzy version of Am I Blue. Of course, this comes back famously in Justice League Unlimited with Batman singing it. Oh, yeah, so now we're at Shaughnessy's. Oh, boy, a big band club. I can get behind.
I love this nightclub, Dragon.
Yeah.
This is the kind of place where if I were designing a Batman theme park, I'd include it.
Yeah. Again, really nice. Again, nice locations that we haven't seen before in the animated series.
Yeah.
Like a big old kind of big band kind of dance club. Look at this. I love this runner of Dick Grayson having really bad luck with wine, like these wine glasses. And this always made me laugh as a kid. Just like, oh, I made it so far. Also, just to note it too, because it's about to spill on him. I gotta tell you, I love Dick Grayson's. Because the animated series, many times you're going to use a stock image, which is why Bruce Wayne most of the time is in the brown suit and the yellow shirt. I love that for the movie. We can jazz him up a little bit design wise. If you put Dick Grayson in this really nice suit, it looks a little like Bruce Wayne with kind of like the vest and everything. Which
yeah.
Really nice.
The pink wine kind of reminds me of the champagne that they drink in the Rescuers Down Under. That's a really obscure pool, but I just want to bring it up.
And again, they got to walk a line coloration wise for the like, can we get away with the characters drinking wine in a cartoon, that sort of thing. So this is great. Oh my god, Mr. Freeze again. We've taken like a '60s Batman idea, we've made it dramatic and like look at it face value. Or okay,
it kind of reminds me of the Joker crashing the party in The Dark Knight, Dragon, because it's just like, yeah, what if this like seriously scary thing just happened in the middle of a crowded public place?
Yeah, just play it at face value. Again, guy in an out there costume, sure, but I mean, he walks in with a gun and polar bears. That's scary.
Right.
So of course, Mr. Freeze, he's on a timetable here, so he's got to get results fast. Like, where is Barbara Gordon? And also the wonderful Michael Ansara, who unfortunately is also no longer with us. Who again, this is one of his a great performance. He's the main character of this movie for all intents and purposes. He does an excellent job.
Mm.
Okay, now this, I tell you, you know me, I love when people save people, and I love Dick Grayson springing into action, just like goes and kicks Mr. Freeze.
Karate
Basically,
kick.
I know, and just like outside of the costume, just doing all this sort of stuff, just this doing everything he possibly can to save. Again, he does not. It's also for the record, he does not know that she's Batgirl either, so he has no idea she can actually handle herself. My God, very heroic stuff here, and again, just good staging and blocking with the action. Of course, the best part of the movie is coming up real soon, so we'll talk about that. One of the best parts, not counting the ending. Oh, I love when he throws the plate here like a batarang, which is so awesome.
It's a good example of Dick getting to have a full action scene outside of the costume, which is pretty rare to see.
And also, Batman not in the scene. He's not an accessory to Batman.
Yeah, right.
Which is big. And again, this is the kind of stuff that informs a Nightmare.
I would say that Batman is arguably like the third lead in this movie after Mr. Freeze and Robin.
I think you're absolutely correct about that. Yeah, I mean, even though he's in the namesake, depending on who you ask.
Right.
I love this bit here, Freeze. Again, he's going to honor what he is a man of honor. He says, "Okay, I won't kill him, but I got to slow him down, so I'm going to like distract him with a little chandelier thing here." Of course, this leads to probably the standout sequence of the movie. The motorcycle. I love everything. Everybody loves the motorcycle chase. I really love the motorcycle chase. It's so great. And again, this is the literally. It's like so many times in movies and everything. We always have the bit where they got away. We got to get to him in the next scene though. Where no, that's not going to happen. No, he's right there getting away. Let's chase him. Let's go after him. So I just love the kinetic energy of the scene, too. Oh, and by the way, the Freeze van from the Heart of Ice episode comes back in a really memorable way. And Schumacher loved this so much, he put the overly spiked version of it in Batman and Robin.
Here, take my Corvette.
It's always a fun. I always remember that as a kid. Like, yeah, here, take my Corvette. He just takes the motorcycle. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, a lot of this, like you said, it's a direct-to-video budget. I believe that, but like, I still say the CG, like, it's not perfect, but it holds up a lot better than a lot of other CG from the same time.
Absolutely. Again, remember, this is the first time they're doing this much incorporation of CG, which again, remember, so this is like while they're working on Iron Giant, like in the same year they're working on Iron Giant, they're putting this out. And Iron Giant, because they're both Warner Brothers Productions, they knew about Iron Giant production. They actually learned a few techniques from what they were doing, and they actually they couldn't afford it though. That was the problem. That's why if they had like a little bit of that theatrical budget, they might have been able to use a little bit more of it's called flattening. That's what they use in Iron Giant to make the computer generated Iron Giant look like the 2D implement. So that's essentially, they couldn't quite do that here for every sequence, but again, it still holds up tremendously well. It's still. The problem is, if you look really carefully, you'll see small characters in CG. That's the problem. But when you see the vehicles itself, it looks fine.
Yeah.
They can play it all. It's like Art Deco and CG, which still works anyway. So it's still pretty cool looking, Of course, here we have the epic jump coming up from Dick here. As he's just have this almost Blues Brother kind of esque pileup. It's about to happen with the cop cars. But seriously, I was looking at it now. Again, they're putting like the 2D characters inside the vehicles really well. I got to give them points there too. Like the integration's really this stuff they toyed with in Phantasm. We're getting to incorporate a whole lot more. The film in these few.
I think it looks better than it did in Phantasm, even though there's more of it.
Yeah, I mean they only did it for the opening of Phantasm, but yeah, sure. Because they would do this in more of the like Under the Red Hood uses like the CG vehicles. Basically, you try to use CG vehicles now in the direct-to-video movies they're doing now to make things easier on the animation crew. Because the more cars you have to animate, the longer you're going to be there. You can do a simulator or something with them,
Makes sense, yeah.
Oh boy, this is great. And of course, a little bit of throwback to Heart of Ice when he freezes the road, and it leads to this bit that always hurts. It's wonderful, but it always hurts. Where Dick has the hard landing with the tree. You know, it's like you feel the impact on his ribs when he lands on that tree, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Look at him surfing on that bike. I mean, this is a lot better than the whole like, Batman froze my motorcycle. I can't make the jump.
Cowabunga!
Yeah, this is a whole lot. Look at this. And the bit always stuck with me as a kid, where he lands like, I could have gotten. It's almost like Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 2 when he gets thrown off Al's car. You know, it's like, so close. Got right there. It's like, you feel horrible for the kid. His girl's gone, and Mr. Freeze got away, and he has no idea what his plan is.
And that's pretty much the end of Act 1.
Yeah. So now we're kind of into the Barbara Gordon story of it all here, where she's waking up with a lot of questions, as she should have, and thankfully she's not taking mystery pills that people are offering her.
Dragon, it's just this whole scenario is so creepy. Just like, I'm a doctor. Take these pills; it'll help you calm down. It's
as a kid, I didn't pick up on it, but now it's absolutely This is really wrong.
And I do really like Barbara. I honestly think the movie maybe plays to her strengths better because she's not in the back roll costume. Because you get to see her kick ass as Barbara Gordon throughout the movie.
Sure. I mean, she's no damsel in distress. Like, Jim Gordon didn't raise a damsel in distress, and I love that. So speaking of which, so of course, as much as I love Mask of the Phantasm, and I do, you know I do, Jim Gordon very minimal. He has one scene in the movie, then he's out. But again, because he wouldn't be in there logically, because they're going after Batman. You never do that. But here, though, we give him like a West Wing moment and everything. It's great. I'm looking at the West. Oh, a little cool connective tissue thing. Renee Montoya, you see her right there?
Yes.
She got promoted to sergeant, and in New Adventures, she gets promoted to detective. So she's working her way up.
Oh, nice.
That's why she's got like the short sleeves on right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, desperation definitely a unifying theme here, where you feel for Gordon here saying, it's a freak with polar bears has my daughter. That shouldn't be hard to find. You bring her, find her now. I mean, your heart goes out to him while Gordon's snapping at his guys right now. I mean, he's always been kidnapped by Mr. Freeze, who usually doesn't cause much trouble.
We're on it. Then why are you still standing here talking to me?
Absolutely. Of course, I love that Bruce Wayne, again, not a Batman Gordon scene, but it's a Bruce, it's kind of a Bruce Gordon scene here. Bruce, like, getting to the heart of the problem, trying to help his buddy here. It's like, okay, Jim, why do you think they took Barbara?
I love that Gordon is, very complimentary of Robin for trying to save her.
I know, and again, I just love that it's earning points there for kind of the potential father-in-law, in a sense, kind of the father of the... the father of the girlfriend, but seriously though, it is great just Gordon absolutely getting we're not doing the cliche thing like, why didn't you try something? Why did you fake not being able to catch her or anything? No, he tried everything he could to save her, man, even outside the costume, which absolutely Gordon gets. Again, that's why Gordon's the top cop in Gotham, because he knows these things, because he recognizes these things. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I always love the bit where the nurse goes out and they instantly turn it on, like, shut the door. they're using the hospital computers. Like, of course, Batman. Belson called as a doctor, so therefore, when the hospital, let's use the hospital computers. Of course, being the world's greatest detective that he is, he puts two and two together. Nora Freeze's name is on here. I think we have a link. I think we have an idea what's going on here.
Sure.
Great tension here in the editing with Barbara trying to escape, and you the person in the audience, like, come on, Barbara, you can do it. One more leap.
Dragon, what's your timestamp?
I got 32 minutes and 50. It's about to be 33 minutes right now. It's 33 minutes.
Okay. Tell me when you get to 33:36.
Okay. Right now we're kind of pulling the John McClane, crawling through the air vents.
Oh, I do really like this sequence, Dragon, because it's it's very action packed and intense. It's a creative action sequence. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right now. So I love that that Freeze. He isn't like foolishly like he's not gonna impale her inside the vent. He's trying to hold it. He's kind of like trying to block her off in the vent too. By the way,
That's another thing I like about the stakes of this is that you can't kill her. You know, it's like if you kill her, it's all for nothing.
absolutely. Well, at the very least, he definitely can't tamper with the body. Like, can't kill her in like a big gruesome way either. But
Right,
like
right.
Belton going after her later on, technically, I mean, I guess they might be able to kill her because again, they were looking for passed away recipients earlier on. The fact is, they
Oh,
can't
that's
like if
true.
they can't damage the organs. That's the big. They can't damage the body. So still, it's a risk. Hurting her period is risky. That's the
It's just a really creepy setup. The red of the machine mixed with the blues. That's a great kind of visual symbol right
I
there.
love how ethereal this room is. I just really
Uh
do. Of course, Free's very protective of his wife here. You know, just like it's like get away from her. You know, he's like as she's like kind of taking in the situation here.
I love how she's like not taking any shit from this doctor when the doctor tries his doctorly like, all right, now let's just all take a deep breath. It's like, no, screw that noise.
Of course, Barbara here, she keeps up in the police files. So as far as she's concerned, Heart of Ice, he thought Nora Freeze was dead.
Uh,
So basically, she's getting informed of the situation here, and again, she's more than will. I love that we make the distinction. She's willing to help, but in a hospital, not like a creepy like being abducted and being given pills and offered pills and about to be like
right.
injected with stuff. Like no, again, she's like a classic like Commissioner Gordon's daughter, the daughter of a police commissioner. Like no, let's do this the right way. Let's go back to a hospital. I will help you. Let's go back to a hospital, assuming it's a
Uh-huh.
blood transfusion. Before she learns a little more than that. Also, I meant to mention this earlier. Look at Dr. Belson here. Many times in the animated series, they model people after celebrities. Some characters after celebrities, like old school celebrities for the animated series. And I can't substantiate this, but I'm pretty sure Belson's modeled after Frank Sinatra.
I could see that. I could see that.
Plus, he's in the tuxedo for the whole movie, which kind of helps with that too.
The one thing with his design that kind of like I don't want to say it bothers me, but it's a little bit distracting is his like strikingly blue
That's
eyes.
what I'm saying. It's like Sinatra, all blue eyes. It's got to be. Why?
Right, right.
Oh, by the way, of
So,
course, the polar bears, the shout them out, that Nachka and Shaka.
uh-huh. What I do like about this movie is that it finds, like I said, the movie is kind of a bottle episode in some ways. It's very self-contained in terms of locations, but through the air vents and the polar bears and stuff like that, it does find a way to have to keep the action going. It's not just Barbara locked in a room the whole time.
Certainly. Also, I love this. I think this might have been the first time as a kid I saw this old school elevator, like like the ones with like the closing gates and everything, like kind of like a freight elevator or something, I guess. But it's just like you think of like it's the modern day elevator. Thinking of
Mhm.
made it look extra cool. So this is a great idea too, especially on the rewatch. Where it's like, oh my god, we established so well here with this. Like, you're rooting for her to get away in kind of horror movie fashion, and then you realize, oh my god, she's on an oil derrick. She's like on a man-made island. She cannot get away. She's trapped. She's doomed, man. This is why we need Batman Robin in this movie, man.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, like you said, it does just very much lead to just lead to kind of like a hopeless feeling for the situation. Just it is just very much like a captive scenario here.
Yeah, but again, with we had like it's not like a one note sort of thing.
No, no, not at all.
So I love. So we go. I completely forgot, but we're in GothCorp right now. This is a really great arc with GothCorp, given its birthplace. It's the birthplace of Mister Freeze. The whole Ferris Boyle. They got rid of Ferris Boyle as the corrupt CEO. Bruce Wayne has bought it apparently,
Uh-huh.
and this is a great full circle setup in a few ways. Again, once it's the payoff of Heart of Ice. It all started here. It's all going to end here eventually. It establishes that Bruce Wayne has been trying to right the wrong of Ferris Bueller, and perhaps, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say he wasn't sure Mr. Freeze was gone at the end of Deep Freeze. I think he's expecting him to return one day and maybe preparing to help him with Nora. That's my headcanon.
That makes sense. I like that.
And also, this sets up that, again, Wayne Enterprises is working on cryogenics, which, of course, is going to set up our really beautiful ending. So, again, big stuff there.
Of course,
Done really well. This not just an exposition scene about establishing who Dr. Belson is, you know? Dr. Mariko seems really nice, too. You know this is a movie because Bruce Wayne's in a nice suit this time. He's in a brand new spanking suit.
All right, yeah, this is the kind of stuff where it's like the captivity stuff really is a little disquieting.
It is. And again, I love. I'm trying to remember if it comes up at this point or not. The bit with Kunak.
I think it's coming up soon.
Right. Because I know there's a great bit with Kunak later. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, folks. It's a lot of good stuff. Okay. So let's see. We're checking Belson's place for some evidence right now against the moonlight. Oh, look, I forgot about the moonlight. Of course, file cabinets. I know I'm just listing off things the animated series does well. Bear with me. How we're going to see it this way, looking this good. But again, we find a clue in that a bunch of surgical supplies that Belson's going to need in preparation before they went to the oil derrick, and we have our big link here with Arbogast, which again, little psycho nod. The stockbroker's name is Dean Arbogast, which in part a little Mr. Detective, the private detective from.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Also, I love that we set the as we kind of seen. I love that everyone thinks Belson's a jerk, by the way, which I always call that out that earlier scene.
I mean, I do like that he mirrors the desperation of Mr. Freeze, but he doesn't have the sympathetic quality. It's like, no, you kind of got yourself into this mess, dude. All right, so this is the scene you were talking about, I'm assuming.
I was thinking about it later on, but seriously, let's talk.
This is a good scene too, though. I think this kid really does a good job in terms of just having a really simple arc, but having an arc nonetheless. That I mean, he serves a role really good because he serves that. He shows Victor Freeze's humanity at the start of the movie, and then he's kind of like he comes in for the save at the end.
Exactly, we're using him to illustrate Freeze's humanity, and also here's the bit. Oh, the bit I'm talking about is right after when he walks out of the room. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay,
right.
So I
love
the bit where Kunak walks out of the room and Freeze is watching him here. And again, I love the loyalty this kid has to Mr. Freeze, where he's like, "No, I want to help you, lady, but I can't. I'm sorry. It's Again, this is the bit that Mr. Freeze tells him this reassuring lie, but again, Freeze does care about this kid. Where you want to, it's like, no, of course, with a smile on his face, and you believe him, but we the audience know he's lying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, Mr. Freeze in the situation, I love that in parallel to Batman, Freeze is willing to cross the line to revive Nora. Batman, obviously, it's like, what if Batman could revive his parents by taking 2 other lives? Batman would never cross that line,
Absolutely not. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And again, I love that Mr. Freeze, he's kind of justifying things, because earlier in the scene, Barbara asked him, why are you doing this? Essentially, he said, because the world's always treated me like shit. How can you treat people like this with the whole chaining her up scenes? Because this is how they've always treated me. And so basically, Freeze is trying to justify the injustices that have happened in his life, and as well as like just kind of karmic injustice. So again, he's seeking revenge where Batman, he's always trying to channel his frustration into justice. So again, I love that. Even though we do have him in namesake with Batman and Mr. Freeze, might as well kind of contrast them really well there, which
it does contrast well. It does, yeah. All right.
Also, a classic interrogation scene, which again, depending on the one you watch this thing when it came out or whatnot, again, we kind of do an awesome interrogation like this in World's Finest with Batman and Lex Luthor. So basically, these middle of the night interrogations always work with Batman. When he just shows up in a guy's bedroom when he's in his pajamas, it's like terrifies him.
Oh, you're right. This is very similar to Phantasm. Yeah.
Sure, I mean, also, yeah, Phantasm as well at the hospital scene. I think we like the 3rd time we've done it, but still, never gets old. Really, it's always
no, it really doesn't. Yeah, it's a tried and true formula for Batman interrogations. It just kind of catches them off guard.
I like to think Nolan took a lesson from Subzero when he saw like, how can we make stocks and everything interesting for within a Batman story. I think it works.
All right. Well, Nolan literally put a motorcycle chase into a stalk scene, so
Yeah, they
that's how
did.
you make stalks interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Again, I think he took a little bit of a lesson from this, getting there. I don't know.
Sure, sure.
We know we watched the animated series because we have John Daggett in Dark Knight Rises. So I love that as they pulled the bad exit, they swiped the tape, which has like their next lead for finding Belson, which was awesome.
Mhm.
This is our one Batcave scene, and well, I mean we're in the Batcave until the exit here, but again we're kind of visiting the cave for the last time here, Tiki.
Oh man. Also, can we just appreciate the fact that this is very, very much a detective story with Bruce and Dick?
While Batman is minimal, his detective skills are very rare and
His detail,
informed.
yeah, that's the thing. Like Batman, his main contribution to the movie is the detective side of things.
Absolutely. Again, it's like we're using Batman for kind of we're using Batman for in a plot capacity, but it's a really well done plot sort of capacity. It doesn't make much sense. But the point being, we're using it in a really good way in conjunction to the plot.
Uh huh.
I mean, look how rapidly he puts things together here, and it doesn't feel like okay, we need to go to here to go here. It's like no, it's like he's picking up on the pieces. They listen to the audio, they found it, which leads to the lead. We're okay,
Yeah, I
logically
mean the
he's
movie
mirrored up.
is really well done in terms of like laying out the pieces for Batman to discover. It's not it doesn't just feel like a contrived like, oh wow, gee, that's sure a convenient leap you made there, Batman.
And again, just to talk about the pacing, because the pace this movie is really well paced. Because it's only an hour, really. It's only an hour. It's basically like what if we combined roughly? It's like what if we put together like three
Three
Batman episodes
episodes,
together
yeah.
for our acts. It doesn't feel that way though. It feels like just one giant story.
No,
But
no, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's one thing that both of these Batman the animated series movies get absolutely right is that it feels like one self-contained story, and that's a lot. Dragon, I feel like the Nickelodeon movies, like some of them did good, but some of them did really bad in terms of just like feeling like a three-act structure sort of thing. It's always a trap that you want to avoid when you're just like bringing an animated movie to the big screen or just adapting it into a movie format, even if it's not a big screen movie.
certainly, of course, I love Alfred with the stakes here, where he says, the allograft procedure, which basically is like,
Yes,
oh
yeah,
no,
I love how serious and grim Bruce gets when he hears the word allograft.
again, that's the son of Thomas Wayne, kids. He knows medical terminology, and then like Alfred, like I think you better hurry. It's like, yeah. Yeah, it's again this is what I'm talking about. That's what I mean. The transition point between Act Two and Act Three just happened, but it doesn't feel like two episodes.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
just feels like again we didn't have like here's what would have killed the movie in part pacing wise. If we had like a whole Beauty and the Beast thing, that's a bad comparison. It's basically a whole captive thing I'm going for here. If you had Barbara like have like a whole thing, oh man, I feel really bad for Mister Freeze. Where I mean she feels
Oh
bad, but again
God.
like there was a time crunch here. She doesn't really have time to go through like a whole mold, the whole ethical implications here. It's like I got to get out of here, and maybe the kid's on my side, but I don't really, it's like she tried it once, it didn't work, so now she's screwed, and now it's up to, again. We got to get in that. I love this. Oh god, this push in here where she realizes, wait a minute, you need to put me under for a blood transfusion. Look, our plots are like Batman's revelation to her revelation just collided before our eyes, and it's great. And of course, the kid here, sprint action. This bit always got me on the rewatch here, where I just realized where Belson throws the kid. Victor Freeze doesn't like this. He turns, and that's what gives her the opening to kick him into Nora. So again, Victor Freeze is his kind of pseudo family here is his undoing. His humanity was his undoing for her to get away, basically for his whole plan to fall to pieces here. Where again, because he cared about the kid and his wife. That's she got it. She was able to go away, and then Belson just blows the whole thing up essentially,
This pretty much
literally.
leads to like the whole third act just being like one big long fiery explosion.
Yeah. I know it's in Phantasm, but seriously, the Batwing got so much love in this movie with this climax. But yeah, it was a nice touch with all that, kind of freezes humanity and everything there. Of course, chased by polar bears again, but now she got some backup on the way. What do you think about what Belson does here, where he's shooting at her? Because I think his logic is, okay, I'm gonna shoot her. Hopefully it's gonna scare her into stopping. If it doesn't, I mean, I'll shoot her, and we'll still use the organs. As hopefully I don't shoot her in a
Yeah, I don't
vital
know, Drake.
place.
I feel like Belsom just gets more and more desperate as the movie goes on. I feel like that's kind of the point, but
Yeah, that is the main point. He's not thinking
yeah,
clearly here, sure, but
those waves are really cool on the Batwing. By
they
the way,
are. The oil, okay, the whole oil derricks, the whole oil platform setting it's a great idea, but again, I love how it contrasts Mr. Freeze ultimately with our third act, where we have the man, our Iceman on a flaming oil platform, which is a really great contrast. And again, it's he's going for the isolation, and it's kind of in the middle. We can get her to a place that's near Gotham, but also not quite the Arctic. It's a middle ground.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, backup has arrived. Now I have this running shot here with Robin on the wing, I think. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there it is. Nice. Unfortunately, that's the spark that's about to be kindling to our fire. This is where things get really tense, and the tension of this third act has always been so palatable to me because there's fires everywhere, and then things are just going to go belly up for everyone, and it's like
and it's an oil derrick.
Yeah, I mean you're on the
so it's like fire is not good in this sort of location. Yeah, and again, kind of combining the fire and ice in the finale, good symmetry there. The red and the blue of it all, like you pointed out in the color scheme.
Exactly, and I love that. Again, it's such a tense third act, isn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And also, my favorite thing about this on the rewatch, especially, is I've always loved it as a kid. I was seeing like now, just Batman and Robin are such a great team in this third act. Like they're so in tune with their moves. They're perfect backup for each other. Right? Look at this bit right here. Polar Bear's about to lunch on Robin, where Batman just like lassos him and says, "I got it. I got you." It's like awesome. It's okay. I got her. It's like that's teamwork right there, buddy. It's like again, Robin's reckoning level of teamwork between Batman and Robin. Also leads to a lot of money shots here. By the way, just with all the explosions in the fire. By the way, if I'm right, TMS and Coco, their specialty were the explosions. It's pretty much a Coco section, I'm sure.
Definitely.
I've always loved them running like a circle in the corners like this. Like we took the Batman, we took like the '60s Batman run, but we made it epic.
I do think it's cool that like throughout the movie we've seen the polar bears progress from like in the first act we see them in the cave, and then in the second act we see them in the in the penthouse and in the party, and then the third act they're just on the oil derrick. It's like we get more and more confined as the movie goes on.
Of course, we had to put that in for PETA's to show no animated polar bears in this film. But I love again the timing on Batman. Like not yet, now. There's going to be this shot, but I think the money shot of the movie coming up is Batman and Robin circling a corner, and then Mr. Freeze, like, it has that ice beam is trailing right behind him. It's like one of the best shots of the movie coming up. But not yet. Again, we've said it a million times, folks. I know you're like, if it's a drinking game, you need to see a doctor, but this film just looks beautiful. Look at this. Look at this here.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's the Don Yang Swan song, so we're gonna soak it in while we still can, Dragon. Like we already pretty much established that this is gonna basically just be like the animation admiration hour.
And all we need is like Belson belting out some some Sinatra here, like in that. The end is near. We'll did it my way. Dong Yang did it their way, baby.
God.
Oh man, look! I love how look at the physics of the animation. She slowed her fall on the way down by grabbing the stuff, which is how she survives a fall like that. Which you buy with the whole gymnast background.
Yeah, sure.
By the way, it's kind of made this couple work wonders when you think about it. Gymnast, acrobat. Think about it. So this also shows with the desperation kind of connecting theme with the piece here again. Victor Freeze, he just will not give up, and I love how Belson calls him out how far gone Victor is right now, how desperate he is. Where, are you kidding? I can't do a surgery.
Right. No one's going here until the surgery is completed.
No one's leaving until you perform that operation. And again, the dedication behind Ansara's voice is so great, but still he's out of his gourd. And of course, the story kind of takes him out here. We have to. I mean, like Freeze needs to be taken aback here. We're like, we gotta bring him back to sanity. Where he's pinned, and of course, his old pal Dr. Belson cares about the gold and his life, so he's going to leave him there.
Mhm.
But also, you'll notice he did a very Ferris Bueller move there, where he shoved him to get away, pushed him into that falling pyre. Which, of course, Belson, falling pyres are going to be his undoing, as we're going to see. So, think about this. Ultimately, the arc of Mr. Freeze in this movie, in this third act, as we literalize his arc of we're thawing out the humanity that lay dormant inside of him when he kind of becomes he kind of finds his way back. Can't say he becomes a full on good guy, but he's helping Batman and Robin because they're helping his interest.
It's a bit of a Grinch arc almost.
It is. But again, I love that Barb, after everything Freeze put her through, and her first instinct, she's Batgirl, man. She's going to help him. Of course she is. And now Freeze is on Team Batman for a second here, for a few hot minutes, and it's pretty like the end of Deep Freeze. It's kind of nice.
I mean, that's the thing, Dragon. Like we've already kind of made this point, but in spite of Freeze doing some stuff like freezing the scientists and wanting to kill Barbara, it's really hard to call him like a straight up villain in this.
Yeah, because again, he didn't want to kill Barbara, but he thought he had to. And again, that's not excusing what he's doing at all. Because again, those guys, there's like a timetable on unfreezing somebody. Those guys in the submarine, they're goners. They're dead. Okay, there's no certain
right.
And now this, ultimately, where we go with New Adventures, I like the headcanon connecting pieces here, is that I like to think this gesture on Barbara's part here, because Batman, eventually he's going to find out, she is Batgirl. He's going to earn major trust points with him here. Like, she was willing to go into the fiery blaze to help find Kunak and Nora Freeze. And, she knew the way. It had to be her, but, she was willing to go into the fire without hesitation. Of course, this is why I love Batman. I love Batman. He's just without hesitation. He's gonna go in there and save people into the burning blaze. Belson shouldn't have ran. He's on his this last second escape for Robin and Belson's bad day. Killed a whole submarine full of people and this guy.
Again, just the scale and the the smoke and the fire and all it. Like we're just kind of admiring the animation, but it's hard not to at this point.
I also loved earlier on. I mean, we're going to do it a couple more times, I guess. I love Freeze using the cold gun to fan the flames, essentially. Which is how rarely do you ever see ice and fire consistent in at the same space.
Yeah, I mean it's in a way that kind of makes sense scientifically.
This bit with I love when Batman picks up Nora, hear that ethereal kind of Elfmanish music Mike McQuistion's doing. By the way, Mike McQuistion, my favorite composer, the son of Shirley Walker in a sense, not actually son, but of all the trained composers under Shirley Walker's guys, he was always my favorite. He had Demon's Quest and stuff like that. He does the score for this. But I love when he picks up Nora Freeze. Batman's holding Victor Freeze's humanity in his hands. It doesn't get more poetic than that,
Sure.
Bring back that rickety elevator here. We're in trouble right now. We need some ice. And this elevator shaft's going to be very pivotal with what's about to happen to Victor Freeze in a few moments here. Again, it's all working together. I know it sounds so milquetoast, but look at them all working together there. Yeah, teamwork. We're earning some redemption points for Mr. Freeze here. Again, not a lot, but we're getting there. And this him putting his wife and kind of Kunak before his own safety there. You take care of them first. You can come back for me.
That's very, very in character for him.
Absolutely. Of course, one of the all-time great Batman moments coming up here when I'd like a fist pumping F yeah, that's my Batman right there. where when Robin comes in for the for the save, and also again last time we're going to see the awesome giant flying saucer version of the Batwing. They kind of
I
made it
know,
more
right?
plain. It's not a big change. This made it smaller and more plain like, which makes sense, but it's not as awesome as look at how cool this is. It's way cooler in the '89 one too. It was all like dark deco and everything. Anyway, so this bit right here where Batman, after he gets everyone situated, is this one of those heroic Batman moments. Like, if I'm not back in time, go without me. And Robin's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I love that. That just gives kind of such an air of pathos to the to the last bit of this movie. It really does. It just kind of like automatically raises the stakes. It's like, oh man, it's life or death here.
And we have some Phantasm level grappling gun action going on here. Seriously, all these are the epic grappling gun shots when he's holding Victor Freeze. Right? Oh god, this like crack in the helmet, which is like almost acid on his face practically. It's like, oh. Again, this scene always like had me on the edge of my seat as a kid, and still, I mean, even to this day, it's like, oh no, it hits Batman's shoulder.
Yeah.
Like of all the dramatic, like him dropping stuff, like freeze, because again, Batman, he wanted to help. Of all the redeemable, again, Batman's always hoped to redeem a villain. He's always hoped to like kind of reform the bad guy. The one who could be reformed of the whole bunch, Victor Freeze. Because again, if his wife was cured, he'd be perfectly content. He'd be rehabilitated.
Absolutely.
In a sense, if he could have saved him, maybe he could have helped. Which obviously, with the whole Goth Corp thing earlier, he was absolutely intending to do.
Great shadow work on Batman running, by the way.
Yeah. Oh man, again, Coco doing some explosive animation here. And again, it's kind of sad, Batman again he couldn't save him, but luckily, Victor Freeze is okay, as we're going to find out with kind of our polar bear saving. Again, the polar bear saving, which is also nice. I'll admit, though, minor nitpick. It does. I'm fine with it as is, but yeah, I mean, it might have been a little better if we just saw him when we get to the emotional Inside Out ending coming up here. If we just didn't see him until then, but it's like, hey, but he's gonna serve. He's gonna come back anyway. Why not? All that destruction, man. Then we're gonna have
my whole thought process is that they wouldn't have kept Nora alive if he didn't survive. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I agree. Coming up, folks. I mean, grab the tissues. We have one of those beautiful, poignant moments in the animated series coming up.
I mean, they still make it a little bit ambiguous if he survives or not, because we just see the hand reaching for the polar bear. So it's not like we see him straight up rescued. They still leave it a little bit ambiguous until the end.
And he does have a cracked helmet underwater, so I mean,
yeah, right.
So this is beautiful to me, Tiki. You know how many times we've kind of raked Summer Gleason over the coals at times? I love that. Think about it, Tiki. This is the most important Summer Gleason scene in the entire DCAU, and it's also very full circle. She was in The Heart of Ice, and she had a big role in The Heart of Ice. With the whole like humanitarian award thing, and she did the report on.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. Hold on. We have to admire this, Dragon.
That's what I'm saying. I'm getting there. I'm building.
Oh man! Oh, it's fucking hard. Oh god damn! That slow zoom, Dragon. That slow zoom.
Every time I hear that music, Tiki, I'm talking over it so I don't cry right now. I'm kidding you not. That's why. Because if I think about that music cue, like the minute he hears "successful recovery" and then the tears flow, it's just this beautiful idea that Victor Freeze survived while unable to be with Nora. He got this moment of learning she was cured and that she lives, and that the man the man dead to emotions sheds at the end of Heart of Ice. The man dead to emotions shed a sad tear, and now we end it with him shedding a happy tear.
Perfect.
It echoes Heart of Ice perfectly. And again,
as we mentioned, they make the big bucks.
And there was a lot of stuff in that news report too, like Bruce Wayne and Victor Freeze's research, basically putting her in that stasis tube. But all that Bruce Wayne and Victor Freeze's research saved her life. So Batman's compassion all the way at the end of Heart of Ice. Epsom was looking upon him in the cell for this tragic case. He helped the man find peace. And the man, Mr. Freeze, is a ghost in the cold right now. All that's left is Victor Freeze, who lives on through his wife. I mean, it's beautiful, right?
No, I mean, like I said, Dragon, I'm a sucker for a good ending, and this is a damn good ending, man. It absolutely just, it reminds me of something like Baby Doll, like those classic Batman the Animated Series endings that you just absolutely never forget, that just kind of become ingrained in your mind.
And also, like, again, we go full circle with the polar bears. Even we open polar bears and Mr. Freeze. We end with polar bears,
Right,
Mr.
right.
Freeze, keeping them company with that
I
ice
love how he's
cast.
got the lake cast, the ice cast.
Mm-hmm. So, and also, one point I can give this over Phantasm. It doesn't end with a cheesy pop song. It ends with actual score.
God, Phantasm
Like the one, it's like the one flaw of Phantasm. It's the only flaw.
It's also the flaw of Lilo and Stitch as
I
well.
know it's
Ironically
bigger with
enough.
Lilo and Stitch. I mean, I can't call it a pop song. It's like some song just doesn't fit. It's not inappropriate. It's kind of pop.
I
I
mean,
guess
to
it's
be
pop.
fair, with Lilo and Stitch, it ends on that great photograph moment,
Yeah,
and then it goes into the
yeah.
pop song. So it's like it's already over once it's ended. So
So yeah, I guess we should kind of lump into some final thoughts.
Well, Dragon, I'm just like I said, man. I don't want to disparage the animation studios. I'm sure it's good animation, but I'm terrified to go into the new style. I really am. I really am, Dragon. I mean, I'm just like, I'm looking forward to season 4 from a storytelling potential. Like to see the Bat family of it all. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to with season 4. It's kind of like the inner dynamics between the characters and kind of seeing the DC universe maybe come alive a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, final thoughts on this. It's just you couldn't ask for a better Swan song, and I think it's so interesting that this came along after season 4. That kind of trips me up a bit too. But I mean, it's the perfect kind of like God, it's a weird sort of like epilogue, but also transitioning point at the same time. It's a chronologically it's weird, but it's just incredibly incredibly compelling stuff. I mean, like I said, I think Batcave, or I'm sorry, I think Phantasm is obviously like the blue method Batman, but this one, at least from an emotional level, might impact me even more, Dragon. I mean, you can't go wrong with that ending. It's got a very self-contained story. It's got a wonderful 3-act structure that doesn't just feel like 3 episodes linked together. I mean, it's easily like one of the best things from Batman the animated series that we've covered thus far. It really is. It's a crown jewel.
Well, for one, I'm glad you enjoyed it. By the way,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, I figured with how much Deep Freeze went over well with you that you'd like this. So
right,
I had a
right.
feeling, but I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it's so the final thoughts for me, but also just the kind of on the Bruce Timm things. I promised at the openings to kind of cover that.
Oh
In
yes,
my
yes.
final
I'm
thoughts.
very curious, Dragon. What the hell could he possibly have
So,
against it?
so here's the thing. So mainly it happens once we get to New Adventures. They're kind of tasked with bringing back Victor Freeze and stuff for episodes. Here's the thing. So I think I get Bruce Timm's misgivings on Subzero in that it's the end. It's ending. One, it's the end of a character. It's kind of the end of the story. That one he wasn't there for, given he was there for the other two. Uh, but also it's the thing I think he's always kind of battled with, but is that it undermines the Heart of Ice simplicity where Nora's dead and we kind of left it that way. But that said, he was culpable with opening the door with it with Deep Freeze because he still ended on that beautiful
Yeah,
thing of
right. If you're gonna open that door, buddy,
I
then
know because he opened. That's what I'm saying. That's why I can't accept really what he said. I disagree,
right,
and I
right.
don't really accept it. Well, you opened the door, and you still left it ambiguous, but you still opened the hopeful door there. I mean, even if you wanted to leave it there, you said she was alive, and you co-wrote that episode, buddy. So I don't know what to tell you. So I mean, fundamentally, I disagree. But mainly, the thing that bothers him going forward is like now when they have other Mister Freeze things, they kind of have to work with. We already ended the character. Now we got to bring him back. If there's a push for like doing like in New Adventures or like when we get to Batman Beyond. But again, we'll cross those bridges when we get there, and we'll see how well that pulls off. But again, it's we pulled off an Act 3 and ending here that was quite spectacular. Kind of basically saying like it cheapens like the Act 3 of it all with when we do that with this movie going forward. Anyway, so final thoughts for me on the movie itself. So 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 again, with the DCAU, the greatest ongoing curse has been they never knew if they were going to be renewed or be able to have a finale for their shows. And Batman, unfortunately, was subject to that. But it's so nice how retroactively uh, this serves as the ending to the animated series, to the old guard with the animated series before the revamp, before the Batman, before things kind of change and we broaden things up. This is like the end of Batman's universe, but it's nice that we kind of gave him an ending through this, despite all the circumstances kind of conspiring to complicate that. Retroactively, if anyone watched Batman the animated series for the first time, like you, we get to this point and and you have such a great note to go out like Dong Yang's finest hour, and while look, it's no Phantasm, but it's no Phantasm. If you, I don't know, depending, Heart of Ice and Deep Freeze to me are still hard to beat, but in that Freeze is pivotal to this movie, but it's just there's a simplicity to like we just hit all the marks so perfectly on Heart of Ice and Deep Freeze in a sense, but still this is a perfect ending to that. It's like the original Star Wars trilogy. All three work, and again we end on a really great point of that in a sense, It's again, it's again Subzero, again Mr. Freeze's movie ultimately. Again, not exactly Batman centric. That's not a problem though. Again, he serves the plot very well. This was a thoughtful blockbuster versus the mindless cash grab of Batman and Robin. It's what it was at the end of the day. It's not like hey, we're going to use Mr. Freeze. Well, what, did you watch the animated series? Can we make that the movie? Can we use that Deep Freeze as a model or something for our live action? Nope. Look, as we said time and time again, the action, the animation, the emotion is there to appreciate. I mean, if compared to the Phantasm, that's an unfair comparison because again, they have maybe a little bit more juice there. Again, it's Batman's story. Again, it may be an unfair comparison, but it's enough though. It's everything. It's enough. It's a proper farewell to the old look before the transition to the next Batman's next phase in the DCAU. It's a wonderful high note to go out on that ending, and it's perfect. It's flawless. It's beautiful. It's like a snowflake falling down. It's something to capture.
All right, take us out, Dragon.
Christmas time in Gotham, an advent calendar of merry misadventures, a missing story. Can the Bat family get their Christmas shopping done in peace? Will Bruce Wayne be bankrupt by the end of the episode? Will Batman ring in the new year and a new series? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated Bat time, same animated Bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Bat Cave with Holiday Nights. It's blue.